Hey, what's up guys? If you're new to my channel, it's all about filmmaking, and I'm going to tell you guys how I created my own masterclass. So stick around.
I shine hotter than the stars in the night though. Hate the who's, don't give me a title. Flipped in that sense, so I don't worry the price though. Got scratched like mine, no, leave it to the tribal.
So yeah, simply put, recently I got really into masterclass, and I was watching a lot of the videos that are out there by all the directors and writers in the masterclass. And after I finished watching them all, I thought that was a lot of fun, and I think I could actually make one of those myself. I mean, obviously it's not going to be the actual masterclass, but it wasn't too difficult. All you're doing is talking to a camera, setting up maybe 2 or 3 cameras all at the same time, and a separate microphone. So I kind of set that whole setup in a small studio space that I have. Everything was dark, and I just kind of lit up a curtain behind me, so there was some contrast between me and the background. Then I set up 2 cameras at 2 different angles to help with the editing, and a microphone, like a boom microphone, maybe a foot away from me. And yeah, just recorded from there. It doesn't take a whole lot, so this is proof that I made one, that you can make one. It's going to take some time on the editing without a doubt, but I'm going to put out an episode a week, and I'm going to put them out for free on YouTube. And yeah, they're just going to go over all the details from directing, editing, producing, writing, you name it, anything I experienced, casting, wardrobe, props, anything and everything on how I made a feature film for less than $10,000. And so yeah, that's kind of what my whole masterclass is about. And I hope you guys enjoy it. I probably will put out the next episode either with this video or the same week of this video. I'm currently editing it, so thought I would throw this out there and kind of tell everybody, go out and make your own masterclass. That all said, I want to give a couple quick tips if you're going to do your own masterclass. Tip number 1. You're going to want to record in small increments, something like 10 minutes at a piece. If you don't have anyone else operating the cameras like I didn't, basically I just set up 2 cameras and I'm just talking to them myself. There's no one else to kind of monitor the cameras. So if a battery died, if a card was full, if anything went wrong, I would know. Maybe the camera overheats. Some cameras have a limit that they just can't record forever. So I record in 10-minute increments. That way, if anything went wrong, I could just kind of go back and talk about what I had just talked about in the last 10 minutes, not have to figure out when it's shut off and everything else. So that is a big pro tip that I really suggest you do. Tip number 2, write everything down. Write, what all your chapters are going to be. Basically, I had 40 different subjects, and then write bullet points that you want to hit on each one of those subjects, the most important things. If you really know what you're talking about, then it shouldn't be very difficult for you to explain everything out. And since I actually went through the whole process of making this movie, and I've been making films for over 15 years, the whole speaking part wasn't very difficult. Overall, it took about a good 3-4 hours for me to just sit there and talk to the camera and explain everything out, which I think averages about right, because each one of your subjects is going to be about 3-4 minutes long. So each one of your chapters, at least. Keep that in mind for tip number 2. Tip number 3, test out your settings, make sure everything's in order. It took me about 30 minutes to figure out all my settings, make sure everything was right. One of the cameras had autofocus, and the autofocus was really good. So I went ahead and trusted it, and it locked on really well, and it worked just fine. I also didn't move around very much. I kind of just stayed stationary like I am right now. But I wouldn't always suggest that. The other camera didn't have great autofocus, and I went with manual focus on that. And that's what I would actually recommend. But again, it's a little hard to get manual focus when you can't actually see yourself. So and operate the camera at the same time. So just something to think about, and same with your microphone, make sure your levels and everything are right, because you don't want to sit there for like 3-4 hours recording a bunch of video only to find out something didn't play right. So play it back, check everything, check all your settings, make sure everything's good to go before you get started. Tip number 4, make sure you have plenty of battery and plenty of card space, because you don't want to be halfway through everything and then it all shuts off and you have to charge everything or empty out all of your cards or anything like that. That's going to really kill your momentum. So try to make sure you have more than enough adequate power and space to record all of your footage. That's also very, very, very important. Tip number 5, make sure you're in a quiet, controlled environment, right? So I found a little studio space. It was empty. It's no one was around, no one's going to interrupt. There was not going to be any sound issues. There wasn't going to be any issues of people just popping through or anything like that. That's real kind of small tip, but just keep in mind, you're going to be there for like 3-4 hours. So make sure nothing's really going to change. Your lighting's not going to change. You're not in a place where you have windows and the lighting's going to be changing as you're recording. Little things like that. So just make sure you're in a nice controlled environment. Tip number 6 and my last tip. So I explained earlier that I recorded in 10-minute increments. Every so often between every subject, I would stop talking and I would grab my phone and I would look up the next chapter, the next subject, kind of go over the bullet points, think it through in my head for a second or two, and how I was going to approach it and say what I was going to say. Then I would kind of compose myself and get right into it. That part's important because you're not going to just be able to just go through the whole thing. So as you're recording in these increments of 10 minutes, just keep in mind that you'll probably do those 3 and then stop, and then when you're stopping the cameras and stuff, that's when you kind of go over your notes and everything. You don't have to just kind of go through it the whole way. You don't have to have someone asking you all the questions, and look directly into the camera. That's also a good approach. There's no reason to look off camera for any particular reason. I didn't feel any particular reason why that was necessary, and I looked at the master classes and I felt like the master classes basically had the same approach. So I would use that same approach. I also looked at the master classes for referencing. So depending on what type of exactly the masterclass you wanted to do, maybe watching those masterclass would be good reference to what you want to mimic and kind of recreate that. I may add some B-roll into my masterclasses, but I wasn't gonna depend on that a lot, especially since I'm just making these for free and throwing them online. I really just want to get the information out to people who are interested in that information. Okay guys, and that's it. I hope these tips were helpful for you guys. When I was looking to make this masterclass, there wasn't anything that I could find that was really referencing my best approach, so I thought I'd make it. I enjoyed making the masterclass. It was fun. It was simple. I was happy that I was making something that could be helpful for other people. And so, yeah, I hope that you guys go out and make some masterclasses of your own and post them online. If this was helpful for you guys, please subscribe, reach out to me, say thanks, check out my masterclass if you're interested in micro budget filmmaking, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
I shine hotter than the stars in the night.